So ho'oponopono. And it simply means to correct an error.
In 2015, I spent 3 months living in a hospital in a large Asian city, supporting a friend who had a terminal illness and who was in the final stages of that illness. It was way beyond my comfort zone. I felt very isolated and didn't speak a word of the language there. However, it was also one of the most deeply enlightening times of my life. I was practicing the Ho'oponopono method whilst in this hospital as taught by Dr. Hew Len. And if you've seen my video on Dr. Hew Len, you'll know that one of the ways he teaches is by asking us to, whilst perceiving the world outside us, what he calls the data, or the trash of the world's problems, taking that perception and cleansing it internally within ourselves. And we do this through using the 4 healing phrases: I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, to bring about this wonderful cleaning effect. Now this is hard for when people first start learning Ho'oponopono, because they have to struggle with the idea of, well, if the problems are out here, why do I need to clean what's happening within myself?
Have you ever noticed that every time there's a problem, you are always there? Yeah. I mean, you are always there. Always. There's no exception. So we're going to look at where is the problem, because if you're not clear where the problem is, then too bad for the rest of us. Yeah.
When one comes to realize the true effect of consciousness, the way that everything we taste, touch, smell and hear is actually synthesized in our brain and is a product of the way our brain processes and renders raw data, it actually makes sense. You're going to the source. You're healing the world you experience at its source.
So you were created perfect. This is the zero state. This is cause. This is the effect. So as long as you're zero, there's nothing. As long as you're zero instantly, Jesus says, seek ye first the kingdom, then inspiration will show up. Well, inspiration does what? You have your talents. You're gracious, like Joe Vitale. You become clear, gracious. You become what the Hawaiians call, e koma mai, my house is your house. Or you can hang around with trash. This is memory replaying, and what you end up with is suffering, as my friend Buddha says, or as you hang around with disease. You hang around with problem. Now the only question is, which are you going to choose? Well, if we're stuck here, like I'm stuck most of the time, then I have to be 100% responsible. If I erase this, which is the cause, then I'm back to zero. And if I'm back to zero, then divinity will give me what I need, and will give everybody else in the Mother Earth, the ocean, the waters, the ants, the bees, everybody will get what they need. Yeah. So I'm going to pause to see if you have any questions. Yes. Oh, those New Zealanders, my gosh. You can't even understand them, you know?
The ward we were in also included about 8 or 9 other women who had the exact same illness as my friend. And they had their carers and families coming in, nurses and doctors. All of these people were experiencing problems. The doctors had the problem of solving the problem of the illness, the nurses had the health of their patients to take care of, the families and loved ones, and of course the patients themselves, who were really in a battle for their lives. All these problems, all this data, I took upon myself as a product of my own creation to clean the world I was creating within me. And we saw some phenomenal changes. Now, I must say first of all though, that this is just a bunch of stuff that happened. I can't say for sure if they happened on account of anything I was doing, they just happened. Firstly, my friend hadn't been able to eat solid foods. She had been receiving all nutrition from a drip, and numerous attempts had been made to try and get her digestive system working again. All had been unsuccessful. Against all expectations, her ability to eat solid foods returned to her. And that was the first major big change, although I noticed little things happening before that. Little things like people's attitudes changing, things running more smoothly, the doctors' faces becoming less serious. They'd always had these sort of scowly, serious faces. But this was a big one, the fact that she was able to eat, because that meant that she could actually start rebuilding her immune system. So this was the first sign that things might be changing. And all this time I just kept up with my ho'oponopono cleaning. Thank you, I love you, I love you, thank you. And this seemed to bring about the presence of a creative energy. I could sense it and feel it, and I would just spend hours at a time, sometimes listening to it. It's hard to explain what it was. Dr. Hew Len calls this divinity.
Well, we have to go to the source, what I'm going to call divine creator. This is the source, what the Hawaiians call omaka. This is the creator in you. So that's it. This is who you are. You're part of this creative process. And then below the creator is a superconscious. The super C. Some people call it spirit. The Hawaiians call it the Aumakua. Aumakua. Aumakua meaning across all time and space. We'll come and we'll review this. And then the other thing is the Christians will call this Holy Ghost. So there are different names for it. It doesn't matter. All you have to know is you got one of them. Yeah. So who am I? I am divine creator, superconscious, conscious, subconscious mind. Made originally from zero. Meaning at zero, I'm perfect. I don't have to do anything. I just am. I am.
And as I cleaned, it felt like those words, thank you, I love you, opened up a portal through which this energy could enter into my conscious existence, and through my conscious existence, enter into my world, to begin creating of its own energetic likeness. And in my subjective mind, this was bringing about miracle upon miracle, healing event upon healing event.
So now you decide you're going to be 100% responsible for whatever's going on. You don't know what it is. I love you, and it goes up. Immediately it goes up to the superconscious. Just goes up. It just does it automatically, because that's the way the universe runs. Then it goes up here, and you're saying to the divinity, well, divinity's got to respond. I mean, I can't imagine divinity would not respond. So now the energy comes down. This is called mana coming down. So mana coming down, this is called mana. We'll go over this. You'll get it. In fact, you don't even have to get it. You just need to know how it works. And then it goes down here, and then it goes down here. And what that mana will do is it will erase this. Erase this. Erase this. Not only that, it will erase that. Erase this from the grandson. Erase that. Cut the ties. They're both free now. So the grandma is free. 0, 0, 0. Grandson is free. 0, 0, 0. Now the grandmother gets what she needs, because it has to come straight from the source who created the grandmother, and then the source will give to the child what's perfect and right for the child. And everybody else in the universe will get what they need, to the whole cosmos.
One day my friend lifted her head and said, I want to walk. This was amazing. I said, how? Sure, but what do I do? And she said, get me a walker. So I did. And she got out of bed and walked. We walked down the corridors, into the escalators, and out into the morning sun outside the hospital. And it was the first time we had walked together for 2-3 years. So we walked together with the sun shining on our faces.
In other words, if you got data calling suffering and problems right here, going like that, and this is the divine cannot get through that, because that's going against zero and against the divinity. That's what trash will do. It goes counter to zero, okay? So now my friend Joe Vitale is talking, and he decides to be 100% responsible. So he erases the trash, and now there's no opposition. And divinity can flow so that now divinity replicates itself as an idea, as a talent in you.
In 2015, the MERS respiratory virus hit Asia, and it hit the city we were living in, and the first place it hit was all the hospitals. Many hospitals were infected, and the most at risk and vulnerable were the people with terminal illnesses. Now, by this stage, she was walking, my friend, without a walker, and we were taking walks together outside the hospital. We'd been even going to restaurants. But when MERS came, we had to leave, there's no doubt about it. We said goodbye to all the doctors and nurses and all the patients who we'd become friends with in that time, jumped in a taxi and hightailed out of there to another part of the country where her mother had an apartment. In the hospital, I'd created a system via which I was able to survive. I'd even taken to washing my clothes in the shower, and then I'd been hiking up this big hill above our hospital where there was this giant rock, probably left over from some volcanic explosion, a huge round boulder, which the sun would hit all day, and it would become a hot rock, and I'd lay out all my clothes, my underwear, my socks, my t-shirts, if you can imagine this, all on this huge boulder, and that's how I dried my clothes. Because in this part of the city they didn't have any laundromats, so I'd set up a system, and now I had a fussy but well-meaning mother who I had to work around, and we had to sort of vibe with each other's energy. And she was a lovely woman, but she was on edge and very fussy, and obviously incredibly concerned about her daughter's well-being. So I had to step back. I was no longer the main carer for my friend. I actually had to step back, and that wasn't that easy to do, and I had to let the mother take over. At this time, however, I sort of ran out of money, and my visa ran out, so I had to come back to New Zealand, where I had an acupuncture practice. And so we said our goodbyes, and I came back to New Zealand to start my practice again. So life continued. Now, sadly, a few years later, I learned that she had actually experienced a sudden complication and had passed away from a coma, and that was sad because she had been doing so well. She left the world almost as gently as she had walked upon it.
What is the purpose of existence? And nobody knows. Because if you knew, you wouldn't be here. Really, you would not be here. If you knew what a problem was, you would not be here. You would be wasting your time. Wasting it. You could be walking the beaches of Maui, or go up to the place where I live on the Big Island, volcano, 5 miles from an active volcano, and any moment you go, and you're gone. Yeah? But since I live part of the year in California, Woodland Hills, you could go, be gone too.
I'm so grateful that this video still exists as it does today, and want to thank Joe Vitale, who had the good grace to allow this video to stay on YouTube so that we could all benefit from its brilliant teaching, from this amazing teacher, Dr. Hew Len, at that particular time in history, whose healing energy still echoes with us today, even in some ways more powerfully than ever, and boy do we need it. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you like mind-body healing, and I'll leave you with those immortal words. Thank you, I love you, thank you.